Hi brothers, sisters and friends, welcome back to this edition of my Jehovah's Witness Convention review. So this is part 3 and I'm covering in this video the Friday morning session, which is, they've broken it down into 2 parts and this is the first part. So if you've not seen the Friday morning session, which was 2 parts, then I will drop a link in the description box below, so please feel free to check that out, and also please feel free to subscribe to my channel by hitting that red subscribe button and the bell. Okay, so I'm going to go straight into this video review.
Our next session will begin with a music video presentation. This afternoon's music video presentation shows the joy of our brothers around the earth as they share in giving a witness. It also reminds us that we can always rely on Jehovah for support. Let's watch and listen.
Учил вас вещать весть о царстве Господь. Ищите достойных, кто слушать готов, и кто голос сердца осознал. Приветствуй конца, будет с нами петь Богу хвалю. Не стоит бояться тавить слова, и солью приправив любезную речь мы сумеем.
So they start off with a music video presentation, and the speaker says it's to show the joy of the brothers and sisters around the world, and this really is kind of what the Friday morning session was leading up to, because in the Friday morning session there was a strong emphasis via a presentation around not spending your time on doing things that what the organisation deems to be unnecessary, such as getting a promotion, spending more time at work in order to earn more money. They want you to make do with the things that you have, and not go out and earn money and spend it on creating a lifestyle for yourself. Essentially, they want to keep you in poverty, to keep you poor, to keep your life simple, so that you can focus on working for them for free, voluntarily, as a unpaid salesperson for free. So that was the morning session. There was a lot of guilt tripping. The scene was set, and now they're building on that by showing these images of men and women walking around the town, travelling in boats, in quite dangerous situations with their cart, and also lots of lone women working alone, and going out and spreading their message. None of them are looking particularly joyous, and I know when I was a pioneer I completely lost my joy, because it was just drudgery, just out there in all sorts of weathers, as we see these people are, and spreading their message for free. When I was Jehovah's Witness, we didn't have the carts. That's something that's more recent. So thank goodness I didn't have to stand out on street corners, and I see them in my local area standing there with their carts on street corners in shopping centres, and to me they look like spiritual prostitutes, standing there on their street corners offering their wares to anybody that is interested. So really quite undignified. And also I see people just walking past them, taking not a blind bit of notice, and they're standing there for hours. But of course, they can count their time. They can count their time because they believe that the more works that they do, they're going to be blessed by Jehovah, which is nonsense. So instead of going to work and working hard and getting promotion to provide for their families, the organisation wants their people standing out like spiritual prostitutes on street corners with their magazines in all types of weather, and really just, and wasting their life, wasting their time. There's also scenes of women with young children getting involved in this activity, and also people on vehicles that hardly look safe, and also out in very rural and mountainous regions. So as far as the organisation is concerned, it doesn't matter how you do the preaching work. They just want you to do it, even if your life is at risk, even if your children's health and your health is at risk. That is of no consequence. They just want you out there counting time. So next they go into a 4-part symposium, and this is where the organisation, the governing body, feels that they have a right to meddle in people's lives. They are unqualified as marriage counsellors, as children counsellors. They are totally unqualified, no qualifications at all at a professional level, and they therefore have no business giving talks to people about how they should live their life, how they should act within a marriage, and how children should act within a family. That being said, they go into a 4-part symposium to address the family arrangement and husbands' roles, wives' roles, and children's roles. And the first part of the symposium is aimed at husbands and ways that they can rejoice with their wives. So let's check this out.
In this symposium, we're going to consider husbands, wives, parents, and children, and how each of us can contribute to the joy of the family. It's important that we assign our wives honor.
So he talks about a husband assigning his wife honor. And I know that this is mentioned in the Bible, and this is kind of an area where I have my own views on the Bible, because whilst I think that the Bible has lots of practical application for our modern day, I also think that in many ways the Bible is out of date. It was written for a period of time in which women were not seen as equals and were very much the underdog in society. And a lot of the writings in the Bible still reflect that. And I don't personally necessarily agree. So, I mean, let me just state, I'm not married, and I didn't marry a Jehovah's Witness man. Thank goodness for that. But, I have had long-term relationships. So in my relationship, my partner never assigned honor to me, but rather he honored me. And there is a difference, because it's kind of like the word assign almost means to delegate, to give out a responsibility, to hand something over. And when you're in a relationship and you love each other, for me, it's not about saying, okay, this is a role for a woman, so I'm going to assign you that honor. Yeah, but that should come naturally as part of that relationship. A woman honors her man, and a man honors his woman. And I don't believe you need an out-of-date Bible to tell you that that is a natural feeling in a relationship. And the minute that that natural love and affection and honor is gone, you know that's time to move on.
Number 2, we must invest time in our relationship. Number 3, it's important that we confine our romantic interests to our wife. And number 4, we have to be realistic in our expectations. Let's consider these points one at a time.
So he now talks almost like he has had this bolt of lightning from the heavens to enlighten the audience, in the sense that he's now going to talk about some key areas for a husband to consider, saying that, you know, a husband must give his wife time, must have no other romantic interests other than his wife, and must be realistic within the relationship. Well, do you know what? A lot of people have that good, solid foundations in their relationship, and they don't need a Bible to tell them that, and they certainly don't need the Jehovah's Witnesses governing body members to tell them that. It's pretty much common sense. But I can imagine that Jehovah's Witnesses men and their wives are sitting there literally lapping this information up as if it's not common sense. Yeah. And again, the witnesses are meddling in people's relationships, of which they have no role, and certainly because they're not professional marriage guidance counselors.
And then Peter says, as to a weaker vessel. Now, what does Peter mean when he refers to the wife as a weaker vessel? And that's what Peter is telling us about our wives. She is the weaker vessel, the feminine one. In what way is she weaker? Certainly not intellectually, and certainly not spiritually. Primarily in a physical sense, we husbands have an advantage. So we accord our wife honor. That means we would never get physical with her. And certainly we would never, on a pretext, pretend to honor her in public and then abuse her in some way in private. See, that would never work, would it?
Again, the Bible talks about women being the weaker vessel, the feminine one, and therefore her husband needs to assign her honor. And I just find it really degrading. Again, as I said earlier, I think the Bible in some parts is very out of date and is not in tune with modern day thinking, because in my relationship, if my partner certainly doesn't see me as the weaker one, I might be physically weaker than him, but I'm so much stronger in so many ways. And therefore, it is that combination of different strengths that is brought to a relationship that makes relationships work. And you know, you look at so many relationships out there, and you know, there are some women that are physically stronger than their men, but also have different strengths that they bring to the relationship, but doesn't mean that they are any less valuable or any less able to contribute to that relationship. And yes, you know, generally women are the more feminine one. Um, but again, that femininity doesn't mean weakness.
We must confine our romantic interests to our wife. There's no other option. We want to rejoice with the wife of our youth. We want to be captivated by her love. That means avoiding overly close relationships with other women. And not just physical relationships, texting, video conferencing, telephone calls, all constitute a relationship. So we're very careful. We set limits and we don't go beyond them.
So one of the things about Jehovah's Witnesses is they love to talk down to their followers, and they're talking down to them almost as if they're children, and setting out their ground rules in a very childlike, really basic manner. You know, and this just really annoys me because, again, two people in a relationship who love, adore, honour and care for each other does not need it spelling out to them that in a relationship that their romantic interest need to just be confined within that partnership. So yeah, and the thing is, they're setting it out in such a basic way, really speaking down to the men, and I just think that you don't need to be a Jehovah's Witness or to have gone to the convention or to read the Bible to know these basic things. These are just basic everyday things that anybody with half an ounce of common sense knows, that when you're in a relationship you have eyes only for your partner and nobody else. So why they need to take a whole, you know, couple of hours in their assembly program to point this out, I really don't know. Again, this is about the mind control. This is about controlling people, telling them what they should and shouldn't do, and almost trying to be that beacon of light. So if there is a problem in the marriage, the couple can think, right, we need to go to the elders, we need to look to the organisation to see what it says, without thinking things through themselves. And that's all that it is setting people up so that they can go straight to the organisation, where the organisation can then meddle in their business.
And confining our romantic interests to our wife includes rejecting sexual fantasies involving others. The world makes light of such fantasizing, but Jesus helped us to appreciate it's a very serious matter. Do you recall his words in the Sermon on the Mount? Anyone who keeps on looking at a woman so as to have a passion for her has already committed adultery in his heart. The point? Fantasizing is little more than rehearsing. So we reject such fantasies, knowing that they violate Bible counsel, including Jesus' very pointed advice, and they can prevent us from rejoicing in our wife.
So here he's talked about sexual fantasizing, so even putting limits on what people think. So, you know, basically saying you're not allowed to have sexual fantasies. And I just think that is just, again, it's the mind control, because if a couple, two people decide that in their relationship they are going to allow fantasies or whatever they allow, that is their business. And there might be some valid reasons why a couple choose to allow each other, or a wife allows a husband, or a husband allows the wife to have fantasies about other people. There might be valid reasons for that. They might even share their fantasies together, but and if they do, it's nobody's business other than their own. But yet Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body, feels that they have a right to get into people's minds and tell them what to think on such personal issues, really trying to police people's thoughts. So it's kind of like, if we can police you in what you do, we want to police you around your home, we want to police you around your relationships, and now we even want to police you in terms of what you think. They want to get into every aspect of your life. Do you know, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, I used to have fantasies around my favourite singers, the latest celebrities, and all of that. And I remember growing up as a Jehovah's Witness and feeling so guilty, feeling so bad about myself, because I'd go to school and all my friends were like oohing and ahhing about the latest celeb, and I liked them too. And when I used to have those fantasies, I used to feel this is so wrong, because the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Bible tells me that by having these fantasies, I've committed adultery. And I remember sort of just feeling guilty. Well, the governing body needs to get up to date, because people have fantasies. They have fantasies. Teenagers, young people have fantasies. And some people in relationships, they agree that fantasies is part of their relationship and they are happy with that. And for some people, it can even increase and bring pleasure within their sex lives, having fantasies. But yet, Jehovah's Witnesses want to police every aspect of your life, including what you think.
In the following dramatization, notice how the husband rejoices in his wife.
I was trying to get caught up on paperwork for the circuit overseer's visit. There was so much to do.
You gotta be kidding me.
Well, you're home early, honey. I sensed something was wrong. The kids had left a few things out, and I was a bit preoccupied. A tough day?
You were supposed to talk to the girls about this. They're making it a habit.
So now we move into this dramatisation, and this really is quite interesting, because the guy starts off by saying that he's caught up in his work, he's really busy, he's got a lot to do, and funnily enough, all of that busyness and all of that work that he has to do is all related to the circuit overseer's visit, or in other words, the Jehovah's Witnesses work. And all of this work would be totally unpaid for. You know, it's all voluntary, he's not getting paid. So he would rather shirk his responsibility as a man, as a husband, as a father in his home, where the kitchen needs cleaning, he's probably got tasks around the house to do. He's shirking all of that so that he can devote his time to the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I just think that, you know, this is setting the tone that women must expect, wives must expect their husbands to be fully immersed in the Jehovah's Witness work and put up with that scenario and put the responsibility of cleaning and doing housework to the wife and the children, who incidentally are both girls.
What can you do as a wife to add joy to your marriage?
So now we're into the second part of the symposium, and this part is now focused towards the wives. Now, again, I just reiterate what I said in the first part, is that these people, these Jehovah's Witness governing body members, helpers, these speakers, are not qualified as marriage counsellors, in counsellors and advisors in no shape or form. So they have absolutely no business giving advice to women, to families, on what they should do in their marriages. But secondly, again, the role of Jehovah's Witnesses and these men is to demean their women. And you have now this man speaking down to women, telling women what their role and their responsibility is. And if I was a wife sitting in those meetings, I don't, mind you, I say that, I was going to say, I don't think I would appreciate that. And would probably prefer that talk to be held by a woman. But in saying that, Jehovah's Witnesses are so dumbed down, and especially if they've been in the organisation for many years and have grown up within the organisation, they are so dumbed down, they wouldn't even appreciate the fact that you have men speaking down in a demeaning manner to a woman. They wouldn't even appreciate that. So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, there's no way a man is going to talk to me in that manner about my relationship. But yet many Jehovah's Witnesses wives wouldn't even think twice about that. They would just accept it.
Now, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 and 10 describe what a partnership should be like. So, wives, do you think of yourself as your husband's partner? Well, let's read verse 9. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their hard work. So your husband has made a decision. And maybe you think, I don't know if that's the best decision. But you're his partner. So how will you help him? Well, you're going to support that decision. You're going to try to make it work. And what will be your reward? Well, first of all, you're going to accomplish so much more working together than you could individually. But more than that, you're going to strengthen your friendship, your partnership with your husband.
Classic example of a man speaking down to a woman, telling a woman what she should do in her marriage, in her relationship, because he's saying that if her husband has made a decision and she doesn't agree with it, she needs to just support it anyway. No, that ain't gonna happen. So if my husband wanted to take out a massive loan for something that we couldn't afford because he's working part-time in a menial job, earning very little money, so he can go out on field service and work part-time, full-time, loads of hours for free for the Jehovah's Witness organisation, and his wife is expected to go out in and be a pioneer again, doing menial hours, so they can't afford to take out this massive loan because he says so. Wives are expected just to go along with it. I don't think so. But again, wives that have been dumbed down, that are oppressed and put in a very submissive position and not allowed to think for themselves, they would go along with that because they're being told to do so. So it's very dangerous what they're expecting wives to do, to go along with decisions. It could be that a husband ends up doing something illegal. It could be that, there's child abuse going on in the home. What is a wife supposed to do? We're being told, just go along with it. Keep your mouth shut. Just go along with it. Say nothing. Very dangerous.
You can do so much to contribute to a happy house. For example, at mealtimes, sharing in the conversation, adding perhaps a spiritual gem you found in your Bible reading, or a nice experience, or even a humorous story, something that will lift the spirits of the whole family.
So, some real pearls of wisdom here for wives in ways that they can contribute to a happy house. He says,
for example, at mealtimes, sharing in the conversation, adding perhaps a spiritual gem you found in your Bible reading, or a nice experience, or even a humorous story.
So that is the extent to which wives need to contribute to a joyous and happy family. Yeah, and I laugh because now that I'm awake and awakening, I could see just how degrading it is for him, this man, to even put forth his comments as a serious suggestion. Okay, it's quite pathetic, it's quite comical in the way that he's saying and telling wives what they need to do. But whilst I'm laughing, I find it really sad and disturbing that unfortunately a lot of Jehovah Witness couples will take this to heart, and wives will be expected to make a humorous joke or share a comment or a spiritual gem at the dinner table. They will see that as being a good wife because they are just so dumbed down by the organisation. They will take that literally. And also some husbands, some men will also take that as the standard by which their wives need to contribute. It's like something out of the dark ages. It's very much, it reminds me of some cultures today where women must be seen and not heard. Women need to be given the permission to speak and really kept under the thumb. And it kind of very much has the feel of those cultures. And yet we're living in a society where the organisation is setting the standard for Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're saying that they are the communication channel, the only channel of communication with God. So if God expects women just to sit around the kitchen table at dinner time and adding a spiritual gem or making a humorous joke, then something very wrong there. Very, very wrong. So we now go back to this very disturbing dramatisation where the husband was sitting around at home all day because he was far too busy to get involved in supporting the family at home. Whilst he's the only one at home, He's too busy to wash up the dishes and clean and tidy up because all his time is being devoted towards the organisation unpaid. His wife has come home. Looks like she's come home from work and even having done some shopping. And she is now, the spotlight is now on her. And they're going to twist this scenario to show how she needs to be a good wife.
I was so tired after work, but glad to finally get home. Until... You gotta be kidding me.
You're home, honey.
I knew he had congregation stuff to work on. But seriously?
A tough day?
You were supposed to talk to the girls about this. They're making it a habit. At first, it upset me he didn't say anything. But then, I began to think. It's actually something I've come to love about John.
So she's come home from work. She's absolutely tired. She's picked up some shopping. He's been at home, I don't know whether all day, but he's been at home working on organised, Jehovah's Witness stuff. And he is shirking his responsibility to talk to the daughters about cleaning up after themselves. But what I find disturbing about this is that it's a few dishes. He, as a father, knows that his wife has been out at work. She's going to be coming home. He's just left it. Why couldn't he do his part and clean up? It's almost like the message there that they're putting out is that washing up and cleaning is women's work, and he can shirk his responsibility and leave it to his wife so that he can get on with Jehovah's Witness stuff on a voluntary basis. So I just find that the message here is very off, because being in a relationship and a partnership, and they're talking about joy, his wife is not looking joyous at all, because she's come home to find that the house is a mess. So yeah, the standard has been set, and it's not a good standard at all.
His patience. He doesn't overreact. He's thoughtful, concerned. He really listens. It's why he's such a good elder.
So really unrealistic, whereas many wives and many women would be really upset in this situation. She is now having a moment where she's trying to find all his good qualities, and really reflecting on them, which I don't think many women who've come home from work tired, picked up the shopping and coming home to a mess would be thinking, do you know what, forget the mess, let me just ponder on my man's really good qualities. No, you'd be kicking some butt in terms of why he's not cleaned up when he's been sat there all day. So really unrealistic. So she's reflecting on all these good qualities and saying that's why he's such a good elder. How about him being a good husband, a good father, a good head of the household? But no, all of that is being excused because she needs to support him in his role, dedicating his time and his life to the organisation.
understand why we've enjoyed so many blessings together.
And yes, this scene reminds me of having to clean the Kingdom Hall and the Assembly Hall for free. Do you know, I look back now and I just think, I can only speak for myself. I was so dumbed down by that organisation. I was doing stuff for free. They were exploiting us. We weren't paid. Couldn't even get a free meal out of them. Not even a free drink could we get. But we were giving up our time Saturday afternoons to clean the Kingdom Hall. And I also remember it, after each circuit assembly, each congregation had the responsibility. They was on a rota basis. I don't know if it's still like this now, but each congregation was on a rota basis. And after the convention on the Sunday, they had the responsibility of cleaning the assembly hall all for free. So this scene just reminds me of it.
Sometimes I forget. And I could be more patient.
So sometimes she forgets and she needs to be more patient. No, love. No, darling. You need to kick your husband's butt into touch. And he needs to get off his ass and he needs to start pulling his weight at home. Because that is what makes a happy, joyous home, is when everybody contributes. But no, the message here that's being spread by the Jehovah's Witness is that wives must excuse their husbands. They must allow them to shirk their responsibilities, but don't focus on the fact that he's a poor contributor at home because he's spending his time doing work for the organisation. But you must overlook that and just focus on his positive qualities.
You know, honey, you're right. This is completely unacceptable. I'll talk to the girls as soon as they come through that door.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
No, what's unacceptable is that you've been sat on your backside whilst your house is a complete mess and your wife has had to come home after a day at work and the shopping to that. So that's what's unacceptable. So he's not only shirked his responsibility, but now he's putting the responsibility on his daughters to make sure that they clean. What kind of a man is that? So the next part of the symposium is aimed at children and really helping children to see their place in the family in order to find ways to bring joy to that family unit.
We're very happy to have hundreds of thousands of children associated with our congregations worldwide. You can be assured Jehovah loves every one of those children.
Well, Jehovah might love the children, but Jehovah's Witnesses as a cult and the governing body as cult leaders certainly don't love children because their policies, particularly child protection or the lack of child protection policies, clearly demonstrates that they don't love children. And yes, they may well be happy that they have thousands of children associated with them and their organisation, because at the end of the day that's going to bump up their numbers. But in terms of really loving, caring and nurturing their children, that is very questionable.
While children can bring much joy, they can also cause frustration. So the question is, how can you find joy in your children despite living in a stressful world. One suggestion is to view your children the way Jehovah does. These are special gifts to you from Him. Love them. Make them feel loved. It's not enough for you to know you love your own children. They need to know it. They will not know it unless you find ways to show your love to them.
So again, this guy, he's not a child counsellor. He's got no qualifications, I believe, around child counselling, child psychology, around supporting parents professionally, raising children, but yet he feels that he's in a position to give a talk to parents and to children about their part in the family relationship.
Psalm 127, 4 and 5. It says, like arrows in the hand of a mighty man, so are the sons of one's youth. Happy is the man who fills his quiver with them. They will not be put to shame. So children are likened to arrows and parents to mighty warriors. So a warrior will take the arrow and he will carefully aim it so he hits the target. What's the same with you parents? We encourage you, carefully direct your children in a way that, so to speak, you hit the target, so your children can have a happy, fulfilling life of serving Jehovah God.
So, as a parent, and like all the other millions of parents around the world, we want our children to grow up as happy, healthy, fulfilled, and responsible people in our society. That's what we all want. But interestingly, what the Jehovah's Witnesses, their aim is for their children to grow up serving the organisation.
So what can help you to do that? Pray to Jehovah to help you build and maintain a strong relationship with your children. This closeness will help them to respond favorably to your good direction. Yes, the way you treat your children is going to affect not only their future, but your happiness as well. Now, there are 5 suggestions that might be of assistance in building and maintaining this strong relationship with your children. The first one, tell your children you love them. Or you might say, well, that's not the way I was raised. Well, maybe not. But learn from the example of Jehovah God, because Jehovah openly expressed his affection for his son, Jesus. And no matter how you were brought up, learn to express openly your feelings towards your children. Don't make your children have to ask you, Mom, Dad, do you love me? No, on a regular basis, let your words support the fact that you love them.
Again, really basic and insulting advice. Again, really insulting, really demeaning, and really a manner where they're just speaking down to people. Any parent loves their children, and especially when their children are young, most parents are spending time with their children, cuddling them, loving them, kissing them, telling them how much they love them. It's just a natural part of parenthood, and I just find it incredulous that the organisation feels that as unqualified and untrained child practitioners, they're in a position to tell parents how to treat their children. And what I find absolutely diabolical is that at an age where a child decides they no longer want to be a Jehovah's Witness, that they don't want to follow their parents' religion, that they don't want to believe and follow the organisation, then all of that love, all of that time, all of that caring, all of that, all that good stuff that naturally comes from a parent towards their children, the organisation teaches parents they need to stop that. Cut that out. Stop loving your children. Stop talking to them. Stop communicating with them, because they no longer serve God or Jehovah or the organisation, the governing body. And I find that absolutely incredulous and diabolical. Love your children, and we'll teach you and show you how to love and care for your children. But the minute they get to an age where they don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses, forget it. Cut them off. To me, that is just evil. Absolutely evil. Because first and foremost, as parents, we raise our children to be happy, healthy, to go out into the world and to be a success, to have happy, fulfilling relationships, to have a job so that they can support themselves, to have an education that supports and underpins all of that. And we want them to be happy, regardless of their belief in God or not. We just want that. We want the very best for our children. And after that, after we want the best, if they then choose to have a religion or have a belief, then that's fine. But no, not Jehovah's Witnesses. The love of a parent needs to be conditional. It's diabolical.
Now, another way to build a strong relationship with your children is to give them your time. That's going to be a challenge in the world we're living in now. But don't you think your children are worth meeting that challenge?
Yes, he's right. Parents need to give their children their time. I totally agree with that. So their parents, in my opinion, needs to invest their time not in going out knocking doors, standing on street corners where nobody's interested, or fathers investing their time doing work for the circuit overseer or for the organisation whilst the house is filthy. No, they need to stop giving their time voluntarily to the Jehovah's Witnesses organisation, and indeed give that time to their children.
So Jehovah doesn't spell out every single detail for parents on how they should instruct you and how they should train you. That's left up to them. And so they need to prayerfully think about what would be best for your family and for you as a child personally.
That's right. The Bible doesn't spell out how parents should raise their children. But that's where the governing body feels that they have a responsibility to step in and take over that responsibility, and to teach parents how to train their children, how to raise them, and how to get in every aspect of their lives. And I remember being a child and my mother feeling that she needed to take me to the meetings, sit me down, give me books that traumatized me, had me sit through hours of really dull, boring meetings, dragging me out on field service, and getting me to learn all of this robotic way of serving a God, the God of Watchtower. And my poor mother thought that that was what the Bible required of her, but no, that was what Watchtower required of her. And because God doesn't, set any parameters down in terms of the detail, as he said, but Jehovah's Witnesses feel that or the governing body feels that that's where they need to take up that mantle and set the boundaries for parents and set the rules for parents. So yes, as he said, parents are to train their children to serve Jehovah forever, or in other words, to indoctrinate them and brainwash them, mind control them, so that they will serve Jehovah or the governing body forever. That's really what it is that they want.
This means that they will make house rules. Sometimes you'll get chores, maybe curfews. You will get reminders, correction, and discipline. Why? Because they love you, and because they're doing their best to listen and obey Jehovah, and his instructions are to train you, discipline you, so you can serve Jehovah forever. It's not an easy assignment. They need all the help that they can get from Jehovah as well as from you, especially when they make rules that you may not like, what you can and cannot wear, what you can and cannot listen to or watch, or who you pick as close friends. These are decisions that are left to your parents. Now, will your parents always make the perfect decision, the perfect rule? No. Breaking news, it's not news to you that they will make mistakes. They're imperfect. But they love you, and they're doing the best they can to give you the best training possible so you can love Jehovah and serve him forever.
So it's interesting here that he's saying that it's left to the parents to set the discipline, to let the children know what they can and can't watch or listen to, or who they can or can't have as friends. So the organisation sets those parameters themselves, such as not wearing tight pants, tight clothing, the type of music they can or can't listen to, things like that. So the organisation sets that as a parameter. They set the rules. The parents then, because they've been dumbed down, accept those rules, and then they enforce those rules on their children. So yes, he is right in what he's saying, is that those rules are set by the parents, but the reality is they're actually set by the organisation.
This symposium has helped us to appreciate even more Jehovah's love for families. And we appreciate this gift, the Bible, which serves as a blueprint for families to have a loving, warm, safe environment. And you young ones, you play a vital role in contributing to the joy in your family life. Your mother, your father, they love you very much, and they want to have a close, personal, loving relationship with you. And it's their heartfelt desire that you have a close, personal, loving relationship with your Heavenly Father, Jehovah. They want you to be happy now and for the rest of your life.
Again, talking down to young people and children in a really condescending way. Young people these days, they are so wise, and they have a lot more know-how and a lot more knowledge and information than parents certainly give them credit for. And I think that's due to the rise of the media, the internet, and accessibility of information generally.
How you view your mother and your father will affect how much or how little you respect them. Listen to them and obey them. And here's a question we'd like to pose to you children. Do you sometimes view your parents as prison guards or lifeguards? Interesting question. Prison guards are trained to keep a close watch over prisoners because they don't really trust them. They keep them confined with many restrictions. They tell them what to do and when to do it, when to get up and when to go to sleep, what they will eat and when they will eat, what they will wear, and all kinds of other rules. They keep all these restrictions because they don't trust them. Do you view your parents as prison guards at times? Well, you might, especially if you want more freedom, more independence. And if it seems like they don't really trust you, they're watching every single move that you make. You might feel confined because of all the rules and restrictions.
He uses this really interesting analogy as to whether children see their parents as prison guards or lifeguards. And I just find that his explanation of the prison guard is exactly what the organisation is. The organisation has people captive mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and in terms of their families and their friends. And his analogy absolutely sums up word for word what the organisation is. So guys, that brings me to the end of the Friday afternoon part 1 session. My summary of that is that the governing body has no business whatsoever meddling in family life, because they are not qualified as marriage counsellors, of child counsellors, of family counsellors. They're not qualified in any shape or form. So they need to keep their nose out and stop meddling in people's businesses, and allow the families to bond and form relationships themselves naturally. But if they need help or assistance, there is professional organisations, trained counsellors and professionals out there that they can go to. Okay guys, so that's it for me but I will be reviewing the second part of the Friday afternoon, so please look out for that. If you've not already done so, please hit that red subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified when I upload future videos. Okay guys, I look forward to seeing you on another video. Have a great day.